What is going on, Sports Wars? We're here and we're live for Monday evening quarterback. Robert should be joining us tonight at some point during the stream. As you guys know, he's a really busy guy. But we do expect Robert Barnes from sportspicks.locals.com will be here in a little while. But until then, it's me and Beardo. What's up, Beardo?
Nothing much, man. Kind of disappointing day yesterday for the Giants, having to tie with the Redskins. But I did see today that the NFL did flex the next matchup between the Giants and the Redskins to the Sunday night game in 2 weeks. So,
Wow.
we'll see. So on the Giants in prime time, man, we have a bad track record of prime time games over the past few seasons, but we shall see.
If I'm going prime time and I got to pick a quarterback between Daniel Jones and Taylor Heineke, I'm
I
going
know.
Taylor Big Time Hind. All
I
right.
know.
That's who I would go with. Just
Yeah,
saying.
we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be tough. And we have I think we have the Eagles. We're going. I think it's the Eagles. We're going Redskins, Eagles, Redskins. So we got a tough stretch to finish the season off.
Yeah, to the NFC East, man. I don't think anybody expected this from the NFC East, even the most ardent NFC East fans. But I mean, it was like last week. I think if the season had ended, all four NFC East teams would have been in the playoffs. I think that's a little bit different now, the playoff standings. I think the Commanders are on the outside looking in, if I recall now, with that extra loss or with that.
With the tie, the Packers are in the playoff.
Not
Hope,
the
or
Packers.
who
No,
is
not
it?
the fucking the Packers.
Seahawks
Like
and the
fucking
Niners.
Seahawks. I
Seahawks
think
and the
would
Niners.
sneak in there. Uh-huh.
Okay.
I think the Seahawks would sneak in there, but yeah, I mean, it was a slate of I don't want to say it was like a bunch of great games yesterday, at least on paper, but there were some interesting matchups. Some ones that definitely lived up to the hype. We
The
saw
Jets
Bengals
hung in there.
Chiefs. Bengals Chiefs definitely lived up to the hype. The
Yep.
Jets came back at the end, although I feel like the Vikings really dominated that game overall. There were some massive blowouts just in the last quarter. Basically, they got out of hand for Jeff Saturday's Indianapolis Colts
Yeah.
against that Dallas team. But let's start it off. As you guys know, if you tuned into the show before, we start off talking about professional football, the big games and big news out of professional, and then we shift over to college. Obviously, lots to talk about in college since we officially have the college football playoff set, Heisman finalists, all those good things. But for the NFL, the game, obviously, that I was paying very close attention to as a Bears fan was Bears-Packers. I said on Sunday before the game, I said that doesn't matter how bad the Packers are, I firmly believe that Aaron Rodgers will probably find a way to get it done against the Chicago Bears. He always does. And once again, if the game is close at the end, Justin Fields is going to make mistakes. That's just that's the one established pattern we know with Justin Fields. He can run really well, and he's probably going to make some plays with his legs at some point in the game, and he's probably going to throw a late game interception as well. But that game was way closer than I thought it was going to be, and the Bears looked in position for a good portion of the game until the Green Bay Packers did what Aaron Rodgers has done a lot against the Bears, and they did come back and they did get it out of reach for the Chicago Bears.
He's super comfortable playing at Soldier Field, and I think he's always has a cocky-ass statement after playing the Bears at home.
Yeah.
And I think he said yesterday something like, I love playing here. The fans are always very welcoming for me, and it's just like, man, just Rodgers owns the Bears in Chicago. It's something else.
He just owns them, period. And that was a huge game. That was, it's a sad day to be a Chicago Bears fan because for the past century, the Chicago Bears have been the winningest program in history. And by winningest, I mean they've won the most games.
Right.
They've won more games than any NFL team in history. And they've held that record for a century until today, until they got taken over by the Green Bay Packers. They were actually tied most franchise wins of all time in history, Packers and Bears, until yesterday. Now the Packers have pulled ahead. And we can only pray for bad days ahead for the Green Bay Packers and great days ahead for the Chicago Bears, and they'll eventually reclaim that title. But it's not looking great right now.
And I believe the Giants are third all time in wins, if I'm correct.
Really? Let's look it up right now.
It's either the Giants
NFL
or the Packers.
Franchises
No, the Packers are first now.
Wins.
So I think it's the Giants, maybe the Baltimore Colts back in the day.
Let's see here.
Giants are third or fourth.
Most NFL wins since, all right, here we go. Since 1920, the Green Bay Packers have the most wins by team. Here we go. Check this out. We can see it right here. At 787. Again, most NFL regular season wins right here. 787 to 786.
Yep.
Look at this. The Giants right there are third.
I had a feeling.
And then the Steelers, the Commanders, who aren't even a real team, Eagles, Rams, Look at the Cardinals. They've been around a long time, though.
I'm surprised the Colts aren't higher up.
Well, the Colts, they've only been an organization since what, like the 60s or something?
I can't quite remember. There's the classic game that's coined the greatest game ever played, and that was between the New York Giants and the Baltimore Colts. I thought they might have been around longer than that, but I guess not.
Yeah, but here you go. Are you including postseason? No, this is, as you can see, the most regular season wins in NFL history right here. It's got a list of every single team one step too far. That is the official record right here.
Perfect.
And Green Bay Packers took that over. But it is what it is. It's exactly kind of what I thought would happen, that Justin Fields would have a little spark, give him some hope, and at the end of the day, it wouldn't fucking matter. It wouldn't matter. But on to the next game. We might as well talk about the game you were very invested in.
Yep.
The Washington Commanders, the New York Giants. Now, the Giants, I mean, they look like they had it in control heading down there. But then Taylor Heinicke and that offense they got going, they were able to score a late touchdown and tie that game up.
Yeah. The Redskins started off real hot. It was 10-0, and I got really, really worried. And then it was 10-10, and, just start over. It's basically 0-0 at that point. We controlled the middle 8 of the game, which is very crucial in deciding the outcome of games, more so in college football, but in the NFL, you kind of want to look at the middle 8, and the Giants owned it. And we had several opportunities in the fourth quarter, and I don't understand the play calling. I said it in yesterday's video. I blame Mike Kafka for the most part for not putting the ball in Saquon's hands for several situations. And it's very frustrating because we could have put it away several times with just a simple field goal. But we tried to get cute. We tried to throw the ball in situations where I personally think that we should have run the ball. And, we fucking tied with the Redskins yesterday, man. It sucks. It's not a tie is like kissing your sister, man. It's fucking lame. And I don't know. I'm not sure if Brian Dable is gonna pull the string on Kafka calling plays, if Dable is gonna want to call plays sooner or later, or if he's gonna keep going with Kafka. But I put and I'm not the only one. I seen on Twitter yesterday that a lot of people were saying that Kafka was to blame for the total collapse in the second half for the Giants. But yeah, not a fan of Kafka's play calling yesterday.
It seemed, I mean, I didn't watch the entire game. I was just seeing the highlights. I was seeing red zone. So, I don't have the full scope of what was going on. It seemed to me like they were putting the ball in Daniel Jones' hands a lot.
Yeah, and it's because it was working in the first half. And I think somebody, whether it was Jack Del Rio, somebody in the beginning of the week said, the key to this game is us stopping Daniel Jones. Make Saquon Barkley beat us. And that's not how it all went in the first half. Daniel Jones had actually more rushing yards on the day than Saquon Barkley did. But just he wasn't getting it done in the second half like he was in the first half. Obviously, some good second half halftime adjustments on the side of the Redskins, and we should have been aware of that they were stopping Daniel Jones, that he wasn't running the ball like he was in the first half, and at least tried with Saquon. Saquon is our best player, arguably the best running back in the NFC, and to not give him the ball in certain situations when it's clearly not working with Daniel Jones on the ground, the passing game, we are very much hurting at the wide receiver position. It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, I was a little puzzled by that when you got. Obviously, people are going to really key in on Saquon. So he's a great decoy back there. I get it, but it seemed like they were letting Daniel Jones, and everyone's like, "Look how athletic he is!" Like
he's a great athlete.
He is a great athlete, but he's not a running back. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah.
He's a great athlete for a quarterback. I'll never forget Maybe the most infamous Daniel Jones incident when he was just out there running free, fucking nobody within 15 yards of him. He just got ahead of himself, got his weight out in front of him because he got so excited. He just tripped and fell.
He was too fast for his own good. I think he like realized, he goes, oh fuck, I'm running really fucking fast right now, and he's just like, I don't know. He fucking prematured and fucking fell down on his face. I think that was against the Eagles like 2 years ago, man. He'll never live that one down.
No, that was good. I mean, Brady will never live down like the one ball that was out there that he couldn't grab.
He's got a few of those
things
ones.
happen. These things happen.
Yeah.
But I think one of the most important games that we saw was a old AFC championship rematch and what could be potentially AFC championship again.
Yeah.
The Joe Burrow somehow has Patrick Mahomes' number, and the Cincinnati Bengals take care of the Kansas City Chiefs. Now they had to score a touchdown in the fourth quarter to do it. The Chiefs missed a field goal that could have tied the game late. A lot of things had to go the Cincinnati Bengals way, but they are back in business after a pretty rough start to the season. They've definitely turned things around.
Yeah, and it was huge for them to get Ja'Marr Chase back yesterday. I believe he was like a late in, like on Saturday or something. They said that he was cleared to play, and that's huge. That's huge because this is the time of the year where you want Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase to start clicking late in the season, going into the playoffs, exactly like they did last year. They were just on another level of being on the same page, and it got them all the way to the Super Bowl. And that chemistry between them could, propel them late into the playoffs and hopefully for their sake get them into the Super Bowl as well. Huge getting Ja'Marr Chase back.
Yeah, and he is a monster. He is like, to me, Ja'Marr Chase is like the closest thing like to Randy Moss that we've seen in a long time, just in terms of his constant ability to make these big plays downfield, to run after the catch. I saw a stat because Justin Jefferson passed Randy Moss for like the most yards through the first 3 seasons in like Minnesota Vikings history. But Randy Moss had like double the touchdowns that Justin Jefferson had, like over that same time period. It's just insane how explosive that guy was. And that's what Ja'Marr Chase reminds me of so much, is just that as soon as he gets the ball wherever it is on the field, and he's able to get it anywhere on the field, he can go up high and get it. He can go across the middle. He can fucking run a screen and go. He's just fucking explosive. And it's great to watch when he's on the field.
He's got it all. He's great at route running. He has great hands. He's got great getaway speed, and you're right. He's very explosive. He is your prototype wide receiver right now, except for maybe his height. Maybe they wish he was a little bit taller, but it doesn't seem like that even fucking matters. He's just an all-around athlete. He's your prototype wide receiver. Him and Justin Jefferson are the prototype wide receivers in the league right now.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Jefferson amazing too, and he needs no space to get it done. Like, absolutely fucking easy for him to do.
Yeah.
But on the other side, you got the Chiefs, and I don't think this is really an indictment of the Chiefs. I still think on a neutral site, or if they had a home field advantage, I still think they're going to be the favorites in the AFC at this point, based on what we've seen from Buffalo, and kind of how I feel like that team's come back to. They were the favorites. No doubt they were the favorites for a while. I think right now, with them being there and done it before, I put my money on Kansas City, unless they're going up against Cincinnati. Because this is now 3 times, right, I believe, 3 times in a row that Joe Burrow has beat Patrick Mahomes. And you got to wonder if there's just something about that team or something about Joe Burrow's attitude that is helping that out.
They have their number, and Joe Burrow's Joe Cool in those moments. And he doesn't ever, he doesn't let the moment ever get too big for Joe Burrow. He's very calm, and he's got that swag, man. They love it. Just you knew that Joe Burrow had that swag back at LSU when he won that national championship, and he's just sitting there with the cigar. He's wearing the hat that says Big Dick Joe, and it's just he's got it, man. And they all rally behind him. He's got a whole bunch of confidence. And Ja'Marr Chase, he's cocky and he's confident too. I think, the Bengals have the Chiefs number. And also, I didn't even realize the Chiefs are 9-2. I had no idea. I still thought the Dolphins were leading the AFC as far as like the best record goes. No, I had no idea that the Chiefs were 9-2, because from my memory, didn't they start off pretty slow? beginning of the season. Now they're now they're 9-3, but
I mean, I don't know if they started off slow, but of course, everybody was going to wonder what the Chiefs would do, especially losing Tyreek Hill and everything. You know, I think they lost that game. They lost that game to the Colts, I believe.
They lost
early on. They lost to the Colts, and it was right before that Tampa Bay game. So a lot of people thought, well, maybe they're looking forward to that Tampa Bay game.
Yeah.
They did lose to Buffalo, though. You know, they lost that game to Buffalo, which was a big indictment, a big moment for Josh Allen, especially, you know, after their playoff matchup that they had that made people want to rewrite the overtime rules.
Yes.
So, you know, this is the third one that they've dropped. That Indianapolis loss is a bad loss, but I mean,
well, they did rewrite the overtime rules.
For playoffs, yes.
Yeah, for playoffs, that overtime rule has changed specifically because of that Kansas City Buffalo game in this past postseason.
Which is crazy to me. I think that you should just have it be the rule then. You know what I mean? Like, you should just
in the regular season too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I'm sick and tired of these fucking ties, and I said it.
You get a lot nowadays.
I'm sick and tired of it, and I think it's going to be done away with in the next few years. There's a few quality of life changes that are going to be coming very soon to the NFL. One of them, I've been saying this for years, wide receivers is a little off topic. Wide receivers are soon going to be charged with an interception. A clear drop, we already record drops. Wide receiver drops are a statistic. If you have a wide receiver drop that is then picked off, that will be a stat against a wide receiver, not against a quarterback. And that's going to come soon. And I think that ties are going to be done away with as well. There's a few quality of life changes that will be hitting the NFL, I think, in the next 5 years.
Well, I think that the stat one, I think that they might start tracking something like interceptions on drops. You know how in baseball we have these advanced analytics like pitching independent defense independent ERA, shit like that. You know what I mean? So we're a way to evaluate players, evaluate statistics where you're just worried about how that pitcher is doing as opposed to their defense backing them up. I think we might get things like that in the NFL in terms of evaluating a quarterback to be like, hey, this guy had 15 picks on the year, but 11 of those, you know, he was responsible for 11 of them.
Yes, correct. Something like that.
Yeah.
And it'll be recorded.
This wide receiver I still think he'll get it, though. I still think the quarterback has to get it. Otherwise, you're rewriting fucking the entire NFL record book if you don't have a tipped pass or ball that goes out somebody's hands be counted as an interception for the quarterback.
Or more or less, it'll. You know, you look at sacks. It'll be like a team sack, or a defensive player can record a half a sack or something like that. Like a wide receiver, in one way, shape, or another, will be recorded with a drop that was intercepted, and that will be obviously it'll be still an interception on the quarterback, but a wide receiver will share that stat against him if it's a drop interception. I think that's coming.
What would you think about if they just do if they do 15 minutes overtime? If it doesn't do it, college rolls overtime.
What's that? Start on the 25?
Mm-hmm.
You start on the 25 and
alternating, yeah.
Yeah, I think a full just extra quarter, essentially a fifth quarter. You get one timeout, and if it's still tied after that, then put the ball in the 25, and then you have to score a touchdown.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. I'm not a huge fan of college football overtime because to me, same thing with penalty kicks in soccer. It's like I would never want a basketball game decided by someone shooting free throws. So at least if you make them score a touchdown, you're making them score a touchdown. You're not going to sit there trade field goals or whatever, but I don't know. We shall see. But let's get to a couple of these super chats here. Connor Akers for 5. Better start calling them the Denver Broncos. No, there's no O's in there because they have no offense. Oh, got it. Thank you, Connor Akers. Yeah, we could talk about that. The Denver Broncos had the lead within the last, minute of that game against a Lamar Jackson-less Baltimore Ravens squad and still couldn't get the job done. You cannot now. I saw some people in my video that I made today saying, well, you can't blame Russell Wilson. The team had the lead in the fourth quarter. It's like they scored 9 points. They did not break double digits. somehow their scoring average just continues to drop lower and lower. A team that scores 14 points a game, that will now get lower because they only scored 9. And I think they've scored 3 touchdowns since Halloween as an offense. That's what the Broncos have been doing. Russell Wilson has 8 touchdown passes on the year, which I still think is less than Carson Wentz. And Carson Wentz hasn't played since like week fucking 8 or something. It's miserable for Denver. And the Ravens are lucky to come away with that. It's been a rough season for the Ravens. They've given up a lot of fourth quarter leads. They've given up a lot of big leads in the second half. And when Lamar Jackson went down, they're lucky that they had a guy back there who has some experience and was able to lead them down the field.
Dude, Tyler Huntley is a guy, and he's been a guy for several, like, he's shown flashes where when Lamar last year, like, almost shit his pants when he was playing and he had to go to the locker room, like, in the middle of the game, and Tyler Huntley stepped in. Tyler Huntley he could be a starter. Like, I mean, look at the Panthers. Tyler Huntley could be a starter on the Panthers. He's a dude, and yes, you're right. They're lucky that they have a guy like Tyler Huntley who can somewhat resemble Lamar Jackson's game. Might even be a better passer than Lamar Jackson.
Ooh.
He might be. But yeah, Baltimore's lucky that they got a guy like Tyler Huntley as a backup, and we'll see probably more of Tyler Huntley this next weekend because it looks like Lamar Jackson's going to be out with a knee injury for at least this week.
Yeah, the descriptor was, we're talking like days to a week. You know, that's what they're talking about for Lamar's injury. It's not like, you know, they're 8-4. You know, they're 8-4, so they're sitting fine. But if you are this team, you don't want to sit there and drop a game. Like right now, they're 8-4 with that tiebreaker over the Cincinnati Bengals. They certainly don't want to drop a game. And so it's going to be interesting to see what they do if they let Huntley take it, if they want to rush Lamar Jackson back. He can certainly handle it. And again, there's been arguments out there. I saw people with these arguments. A couple games Lamar missed last year. That offense is not as explosive when he's there. Simply put, it's not as explosive as it is when Lamar Jackson is sitting there helming that offense. But it is effective. And when you're questioning whether or not to give a guy $250 million guaranteed, which is kind of what Lamar Jackson wants, every time we get to see Tyler Huntley in these opportunities, you question whether that's the right thing to do for them, whether they should just go with a guy like that who they can still build and tailor this offense to, but have $250 million to get other pieces surrounding him to make sure that defense stays efficient, to make sure you get pieces on offense. I don't know.
Well, it could also be like when Tyler Huntley comes in, you know, that play calling, the playbook, it gets a little bit more conservative just because simply the fact that it's a backup and they don't want to be taking these risks. But what if they do open up the playbook for Tyler Huntley? And then let's say he does play a few great games. Baltimore still gets into the playoffs. Maybe Lamar Jackson wishes he would have signed that contract because he's going to be a free agent. He's in free agency.
Well, they do have, I believe, 2 opportunities to franchise tag him
unless they franchise tag
if they really wanted to.
Yeah.
I don't know if they want to get into that type of situation with Lamar. He seems pretty disgruntled already that he didn't get paid, just with how willing he is to talk about it. But yeah, there was a big injury though, not Lamar Jackson, Jimmy Garoppolo. The G stands for gets injured often because once again, Jimmy G is down. It seems like every year gets a little banged up. You know what I mean? But this is a foot injury that's going to take him out for the rest of the year. So now the San Francisco 49ers are down 2 of their starting quarterbacks. Trey Lance, who, let's face it, never should have been starting back there. And now Jimmy Garoppolo. And forget the guy's name who came in for them.
Right.
The third-string quarterback from Ohio State. Purdy. Brett Purdy, I believe is his name. And I got to say, he looked pretty good. He looked pretty good for the San Francisco 49ers.
He did what he had to do. He went in there and he managed the game, got the win. But I still think that the 49ers probably go out and get somebody. I mean, they have to. They're down to their third-string guy. They have to, unless they're going to elevate a practice squad, a practice arm, which I don't see happening. They're going to have to go out and get somebody.
So they did go out and they signed Josh Johnson, who I think Josh Johnson holds the record for the most different stints on NFL teams or something.
He probably played for 25 teams at this point.
This is his third time with the 49ers. I know that. It's like his 14th NFL team or something crazy like that. But they went out and signed him. Obviously, we had a big a release today. Baker Mayfield gets released by the Carolina Panthers.
Yep.
Man, you look at Christian McCaffrey, who literally begged to be traded just to get away from Baker Mayfield, might end up being reunited. The real question is, what does Shanahan want to do? It's clear that Shanahan can win with a lot of different people, like a lot of different people. Maybe he is the most comfortable with a guy like Brett Purdy. We saw what he was able to do with a guy like CJ Beathard, you know? So
Nick Mullins.
Yeah, and it just does seem like what Kyle Shanahan does back there, if he gets a guy, he might not be the most talented, he might not be the most coveted, but if he's someone that he's comfortable with, he feels like they could run the offense. It's just a shame for the 49ers because you've assembled all these pieces to the puzzle now between Debo, Christian McCaffrey, and of course, freaking George Kittle. And just to have Jimmy go down in this way, it sucks for them. But I mean, do you think Baker Mayfield comes? Do you think they make a trade or, do a buyout or something of Jameis Winston? Jameis Winston, who's not starting right now. I don't think Kyle Shanahan wants a guy like Jameis Winston. Now, Baker Mayfield is also a guy who's very prone to mistakes. I don't know if that's the type of guy that Kyle Shanahan wants on his team.
So Kyle Shanahan had a stint a few years back before Atlanta. He had a stint with the Cleveland Browns under Mike. Who was that bald motherfucker who was the coach for the Browns? Mike something. Mike Pettin. Mike Pettin was the coach for the Browns, and Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator. Now, I can't remember if Baker Mayfield was there, if that was a year before Baker Mayfield, and then Shanahan dipped out to Atlanta. So I can't recall if he has experience with Baker Mayfield, but you got to go out and get somebody. I see Josh Rosen. Josh Rosen, there's no way. I think they would go after a guy like Baker Mayfield before Josh Rosen. But yeah, who's out there? I mean, Jameis Winston, Baker Mayfield. If nobody picks him up off of waivers, is he even going to hit the waiver? Is it too late for? Will he hit the waiver? I mean, maybe they pick him up off of the waiver wire, but then, I mean, who knows? But this guy Purdy. What if he does become like the next Kurt Warner or somebody that's reliable at least for a few seasons for this season? But it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, he was with the 2014 Cleveland Browns team. I don't think Baker was there yet.
I think Baker was 2016 draft class or 17.
I think so. Yeah, I don't believe that he would have been there yet. So, but it'll be interesting for sure. The other side of the ball, though, we do have to talk about the Miami Dolphins. So I think people expected to put up more of a fight, especially once Jimmy G went down. And, this Miami Dolphins team looked a little rattled. Tua didn't look great. They only put up 17 points, while I think San Francisco scored 33, if I remember the final score right.
Yep.
And, a little bit of a chink in the armor for the Miami Dolphins, I think, from what a lot of people have expected seeing from them.
Yeah, 2 picks, 2 interceptions. We knew this was going to be a tough game. We were saying yesterday morning that the San Francisco 49ers looked like the most complete team right now late into this regular season, and they definitely looked like the most complete team. Yeah, it really fucking hurts that Jimmy G went down after, Trey Lance went down earlier in the season. You just saw the way that the 49ers rallied behind Jimmy G. Like, they were like, finally, we actually want this guy to start. We don't want this kid Trey Lance to start. We want Jimmy G, and the fact that they did look like the most complete team, at least in the NFC, or between the Eagles and the 49ers, but the 49ers looked really good, especially with that pickup for CMC. Just Jimmy G going down, and then the Dolphins. Tua had 2 picks yesterday, and they couldn't stay in the game when the 49ers had their reserve quarterback go in. So we'll see. We'll see how Miami rallies next week. Whoever they play next week, I'm not sure, but we'll see if they have a spike game next week.
And also, Tua looked like he almost died on one of those, almost every game Tua gets hit and it looks like he's about to die. He got rolled over or something, but he did not die, at least not this time. So We'll see how much longer he lasts. The Sunday night game, I know you picked Jeff Saturday to win, but they could not quite pull it off. The Cowboys fucking annihilated the Colts. They scored 33 points in the fourth quarter.
Well, it was close. It was like 18-21 at halftime or something like that, and then the Cowboys went and scored 30 unanswered.
Yeah, it was I think it was 13-21.
13-21 at half.
And then the Colts scored a touchdown, and then the fucking Dallas just absolutely blew the doors off of them.
Yeah.
And it really got away from him at the end. There was there's like a fumble. There was a couple potential fumble returns. There was just they pounded it in from 1 yard in with Zeke, and he got in the Salvation Army bucket, stuff like that. So it did get away from the Colts at the end for sure, but a good win for the Cowboys. They're sitting there at 9-3. I mean, with everything that happened this season, we look at Dak went down that first game, and Cooper Rush came in and did a great job filling in for him. We were wondering what this offense would look like when Dak returned, and struggle here or there, but for the most part, it's looked really fucking good. And the Cowboys certainly look like a big threat in the NFC.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we've seen it all year that the NFC East has really been, the best division in football. Even in the AFC, the NFC East is probably the best, most competitive division in football. With the Giants and the Redskins now kind of tapering off, the Cowboys. I hate to fucking say it as a Giants fan, the Cowboys do look really put together, especially having Micah Parsons on defense. Dude is an absolute stud, and they're lucky. Dak owes a lot to Cooper Rush for keeping them in contention while he was out, for how well Cooper Rush played while he was out. So yeah, I don't got much to say, man. I don't have many good things to say about the Cowboys.
Yeah, we're only a couple weeks removed from them decimating the Vikings. That's I think that is their biggest win on the season. I haven't looked at their whole schedule, but that Vikings game, which I thought was going to be a really good game, and I think it was even in Minnesota potentially. They just fucking stomped them, and Minnesota obviously is one of the best teams in the NFC as well. So that was really a moment for them. They should have won this game obviously handily against Jeff Saturday and the Colts, and they absolutely did.
Yeah.
But speaking of the Vikings. They did hang on, got a little dicey in the fourth quarter with Mike White, but they do hang on and they beat the Jets. That's the MO for this Vikings team, is just do enough. And they've continued to just do enough. And Kirk Cousins is having a great season. Justin Jefferson's having a great season. That team looks really good. Will they be able to continue that up without dominating wins? I don't know.
It definitely helps having Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook in the backfield. And I think Kirk Cousins, in his career, since he's been a starter in the NFL, he's one of the most consistent quarterbacks, starting quarterbacks out there. So, in
certain time schedules, yes.
Yes. In daytime games. When it comes to primetime Kirk, I think especially on Monday nights, he just absolutely loses it. He falls apart. But, we'll see. We'll see. Time will tell, man.
Yeah, it seems like it's never easy. I just went to the Vikings. I want to look at their games and look at these final scores. So Green Bay, 23-7, handily won against Green Bay. Then they lost to Philly. Detroit, 28-24. New Orleans, 28-25. Chicago, 29-22. Miami, 24-16. Arizona, 34-28. All these are one-score games. Washington, 20-17. Buffalo, 33-30. Get destroyed by by the Cowboys. New England 33-26, and then Jets 27-22. It's nearly all one-score games when you're looking at what they're doing. But they're doing it when it matters. So
yeah,
a big shout out to them. Hunch the Dirty Roofer for 5. Has anybody done a wellness check on Jeremy, being that Alabama aren't even in the playoffs this year? I did. He's not happy about it, but he's doing okay, Hunch. So one step too far for 2. Bears are 15th in wins since the merger. Well, there you have it. Well, they're second all time in terms of all wins ever. And the Giants are third, as we found out. One step too far for 2. Don't need to be Lamar, just win time of possession. Yeah, if it's a guy like Patrick Mahomes, I give him the money. I don't give him as much money as Kansas City gave, but I give him the money. For Lamar, I just feel like he's too easily not replaced, because you can't replace him and what he's able to do. But if you can get 80% of the production that you can out of Lamar and save yourself that much money, I think I wouldn't give him that type of money. If you want to, if he'll take $20 million a year, then sure. I just don't think that's something he'll do.
Got to think for the way he plays, for his play style, it almost be worth it to take some of that money, for him to be a little bit more humble, take a less amount per year and then put some of that back into reinforcing that offensive line. Get some big bodies up there for the way that he plays, because he's not going to be able to sustain that forever. His entire career is not going to be based upon how well he can run his evasiveness outside of the pocket and running upfield and picking up first downs on his feet. It's never lasted. Even Mike Vick in the end of his career became somewhat of a pocket passer. Now Mike Vick always had a fucking cannon, and he always threw it on a rope. Mike Vick has actually one of the prettiest balls that
the way
I can remember.
The way he fucking flicks his wrist and the ball spins is nuts. It's
and
smooth. It's like water. The way it
effortless.
I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, it just looked effortless. And Lamar Jackson, it's not sustainable. I mean, nobody's ever done it. And Mike Vick and Cam Newton were the best to do it. And even then, towards the end of their career, that wasn't their game. And it's not going to be Lamar Jackson's game forever. And I mean, just learn from examples around the league. I mean, Russell Wilson almost single-handedly dismantled that Seattle Seahawks. They could have had a dynasty. They almost did. But Russell Wilson took all that money. They couldn't pay Earl Thomas. They couldn't pay Cam Chancellor. They couldn't pay Richard Sherman. They could, and they had a few other linebackers. One of them dipped out to Philly. His name escapes me right now. And they had Bobby Wagner, and he's not there anymore. And it's just, when one guy takes up all of that money, you're going to suffer on either your weapons that you're going to be able to get, the other side of the ball on defense. And the Seahawks had that Legion of Boom, and that's one of maybe the second or third best defense of all time. And when Russ took all that money, you simply could not pay these guys. And that's where you see guys like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady never actually signed or was paid a max contract. And even Patrick Mahomes with the Chiefs, he's got all this money. He's making almost $500 million, but it's so back-ended. It's so back-loaded, his contract is. So, while Patrick Mahomes is still in his prime, the Chiefs can still pay players. They can still go out there and get top-tier talent because all that money is back-loaded. So, yeah, for Lamar, man, you kind of got to look at the examples that the league, other players have set before you.
Yeah, well, and I see, $20 million is an insult for Lamar. It might be an insult for him, but also might be realistic for what the Ravens want to do if they want to remain a competitive team. Dak getting $40 million a year is retarded. It's retardedly ridiculous, and they're going to pay the price for that. But when you do look at this Baltimore Ravens team, which has been very competitive the last 4 years, it's all with them having Lamar on his rookie contract. Now he's making $23 million for this fifth-year option or something this year. But if all of a sudden he wants to be the highest paid guy in the league and he wants that to be closer to 40 or above 40, 45, 50, man, that team is going to be hamstrung and you're not going to see them be as competitive. So that's a decision that the organization has to make. And it's not an easy one, but I think that what we've seen in recent history is that these quarterbacks are getting paid too much. Not too much number-wise, because a number is just a fucking number, depending on what the salary cap is. They're getting paid too much of a percentage of the salary cap. That's what's going on right now. At least I think is what's going on in the NFL. Ram and Jam for two. As a Ravens fan, I wouldn't give Lamar that money. There you go, Ram and Jam. Yeah. One step too far for two. I just mean for this game if Lamar is out. Well, yeah, certainly you can manage it. We saw the San Francisco 49ers able to manage it the right way in their game as well with their backup. And we should also talk about the Eagles. I thought the Titans were going to put up a fight. I thought that the Titans were going to use Derrick Henry early. I thought they're going to get a couple scores early and try to dominate the running game and win time of possession. It was not that way. It did not play out that way. And the Philadelphia Eagles destroyed the Tennessee Titans. Yeah. And the Eagles just continued to look like I would say the most dominant team in the NFL right now. You can't put it any other way. Now, did they have a scare the other week? They certainly fucking did, and they have chinks in their armor for sure. But,
Yeah.
consistently week in and week out, they give really good performances.
Yeah, and it looked like they were deliberately force-feeding A.J. Brown the ball because they were playing against the Tennessee Titans. He had a huge game yesterday. But you're right. I mean, they're clicking on all cylinders, and maybe it was a blessing that they lost to the Redskins a few weeks ago. Now that they get that out of the way, they get the monkey off of their back. They don't have to worry about going undefeated. And, now they can just, get back to playing good football. Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes look like the front runners for MVP. And I feel like you almost have to give it to Jalen Hurts because giving it to Patrick Mahomes is like giving LeBron James the MVP every single year. Like at some point it becomes redundant. So Jalen Hurts, just the way that the Eagles are playing, I think you got to put him ahead of Patrick Mahomes as far as the MVP conversation goes.
Yeah. And just to put it in perspective, this is what Lamar Jackson turned down, just to go back to what we were talking about before. Lamar Jackson turned down a deal that could have been worth $290 million over 6 years, which is just under $50 million per year. He turned that down.
That's ridiculous.
And
that is stupid money.
Now, it didn't have the guaranteed money that, something like Deshaun Watson's deal had, which was all of it. But it did have similar numbers guaranteed to what Russell Wilson had. And we've seen what happens when you give Russell Wilson a long-term deal like that. Doesn't work out very well. I just think that if the Ravens do, I think they're going to regret doing that. And I think whatever team signs Lamar Jackson to $50 million per year with the way that he gets banged up, I think they're going to fucking regret it. I think it's going to be a mistake.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing about it is somebody's going to do it, just the way that how valuable quarterbacks are in the league. I mean, if you don't have a good quarterback, you're not going to fucking win unless you're the 2000 Baltimore Ravens with Trent Dilfer. They're so valuable. Somebody's going to do it. And I don't know if Lamar Jackson wants to leave Baltimore. I don't think he does, but he will if he's going to go chase that bag. And somebody will overpay for him, which is never a good move.
I mean, he wants to get paid. He's made that crystal clear. He's fucking made it his banner on Twitter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He fucking wants to get paid. Would he like to stay in as a Raven? Probably.
Yeah.
I don't really know. If he had a choice, he probably would. But I guess, go ahead.
And he's probably so concerned with that guaranteed money because he knows that he does miss games. He does get injured, not frequently, but somewhat frequently. He misses, I think, since he's been a full-time starter after he took over for Joe Flacco, ever since he's been the Ravens' full-time starter. I don't know if he's ever played a full 16 or 17 games.
And we can take a look right now. I'm going to look at...
So that guaranteed is probably, important to him because, if he misses games, he's not going to get those game checks. He's not going to get that money.
Let's see. Yep, he's never... I mean, his first 2 years as a full starter, he did play 15 games. 15 games in each of those. And then in 2021, he had 12 because he did get banged up for a couple games last year. And then this year, he's played all 12 so far. So we'll see what the future holds for Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. We should talk about, too, the Raiders-Chargers game. Chargers fall to 6-6. The Raiders are 5-7. They have not lost since Derek Carr wept. Since Derek Carr cried at the podium, they've not fucking lost a game. And so they've turned what looked like it was going to be a fucking disastrous season. A disastrous season. And they've turned it around, and they're 2 games under 500. Still not a success or anything, but I do think that the last couple of weeks may well have saved. Well, I don't know if they could afford to fire Josh McDaniels.
No,
but in a normal situation, may have saved the guy his job. But that offense certainly seems to be coming together. Derek Carr and the guy they went out and got their number one wide receiver. They're definitely clicking right now.
Yeah, and it definitely helps having Josh Jacobs in the backfield. He's had a hell of a past few games, but they are hurting with Darren Waller. I mean, Darren Waller, what was it, the COVID season, 2020, or maybe it was 2019? He just absolutely blew up. He was just he was arguably the best tight end in the league that year. And he hasn't been the same ever since. He's been injury ridden the past few years, and especially this year, he's been on the IR. Who knows if he'll even come back this season? So, I mean, not having Darren Waller is a huge hit to their offense. But yeah, I mean, you go out and you get Derek Carr's best friend, Devontae Adams, and Josh Jacobs is balling out. So yeah, good for the Raiders. I mean, I don't think any of us picked the Raiders yesterday morning when we were making our picks. So definitely surprising. I mean, just look at the AFC West in general. That was supposed to be the best division in football when we were in the preseason. That was supposed to be the best. I mean, the Broncos with all the hype with Russell Wilson, the Chargers, Justin Herbert. This is Justin Herbert's MVP year. It was either going to be Josh Allen or Justin Herbert. Like, that's what everybody was saying. The Chargers were going to go out, and the Raiders getting Devontae Adams, and it's just that has not been the narrative at all.
Yeah, and I think the past couple of weeks we've started to see why people thought the Raiders could do something like that. Josh Jacobs, like you said, is gone off, and he had damn near 150 yards rushing after his 200-plus yard rushing explosion the other week. So he's coming on at the right time for them, and Derek Carr and Devontae Adams did what they needed to do. Derek Carr didn't look great, certainly, but he did what he needed to do, and they come away with the win.
Yeah, win.
One step too far for $5. Vic in 2010 had 21 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 3,100 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 700 rushing yards in 12 games. Yeah, the 2010 Vic year, that's kind of crazy. Well, when Vic came back, I want to look at Michael Vick's number because Michael Vick, to me, is one of the most exciting dudes to ever fucking watch. And I want to go back to that one because that 2010 one was when he was with the Philadelphia Eagles and he played those 12 games.
Yeah.
And I mean, if he had played the entire fucking year, damn near could have won the MVP, you know?
Yeah.
But for him to get back to the Pro Bowl, even though Pro Bowl doesn't kind of mean much, but anymore with how many people drop out, but for him to get to Pro Bowl that year after everything he'd been through was kind of crazy.
I mean, he almost he did actually. He ended Donovan McNabb's career because Donovan McNabb he was getting a little long in the tooth, but he went to Washington after Philadelphia, which was kind of, bizarre. And then you thought he was going to have a career, like his career was going to be revitalized in Minnesota because he had Adrian Peterson in the backfield. But yeah, Mike Vick just ended Donovan McNabb's career.
Yeah. Ended a couple dogs' lives too. But hey, what are you going to do about that?
What are you going to do?
And we may as well talk about the game that's happening tonight, starting in about, say, 20 minutes or so. We do have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing the Saints. Now, the Saints, they've kind of had Tampa's number a couple times since Brady has been there.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think he's going to struggle at all? I mean, this Buccaneers team has been nothing but struggles seemingly this entire year.
Where's the game at? It's in Tampa?
It's in Tampa, yeah.
It's a must win. It is a must win for how bad they're lucky that the NFC South is as bad as it is, because if you can pluck any other team that's in second place, maybe not in the NFC North, but I mean any other team in the NFC East or in the NFC West that isn't in first place, the Bucs would be out. They would not even be in the hunt on the outside looking in. They would simply be out. But just the fact that the NFC South is so fucking bad, they're somehow still have a chance to win the division and make the playoffs. But it's still a must win because I think Atlanta is still creeping right behind their neck.
Yeah, and this team, like he points out in the chat, the Saints have given Brady problems. Now, will this Saints team give Brady problems today, this week? We'll fucking see. I mean, they did win against New Orleans early on in this season. They handled them pretty easily. But I mean, this is no shit, man. They can't drop any more of these games. They just can't. Not at this point in the season. Even in that, they fucking can't do it. So it's time for Tom Brady to get over fucking Giselle, forget about all that shit, and go out and play some fucking football.
Yeah. And this is the part of the season where I think a lot of us were questioning a few months ago, when could we potentially see Rob Gronkowski come out of retirement? He's got a few months off from playing football, maybe make a run with the Bucs for the playoffs. This would be the time for Gronk to make a comeback to late in the season to help his best friend Tom Brady try to get that 8th Super Bowl ring, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like Gronk is happy watching the games on his couch.
I mean, even if Gronk came back, do you really think the Buccaneers can win a Super Bowl?
No, I think the Eagles are for sure the favorite. But then again, dude, it's Tom fucking Brady. Like, anything can happen, man. Any given Sunday, dude. The NFL is so weird. And with Gronk, just Brady and Gronk, I would say I mean, in their prime, that's more impressive right now than the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase connection. Like, Brady and Gronk, when they're on the field at the same time, it's a different story.
The Bucs just haven't shown me anything this year. And I know Chris Coran sent a super chat earlier, says, let's fucking go Buccaneers, get this win. Thank you, Chris. I just don't personally see them doing anything. They just have not showed me that they have the capability this year. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's the offensive line issues. The defense hasn't looked the same. Defense has been picking up in recent months, but I just don't fucking know. I don't even think that Rob Gronkowski, an old-ass Rob Gronkowski coming back and playing 30% of the snaps, I don't think that has an effect. I don't think that helps them put them over the edge for sure.
Yeah, their O-line, and who was the linebacker that they lost? Was it who? They lost a linebacker early on in the season. Was it Shaq Barrett?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Shaq Barrett, he went down early. So, I mean, O-line injuries, Shaq Barrett going down. You're missing Gronk. You're missing Antonio Brown. Julio Jones isn't the same guy that he used to be. No. He's long in the tooth now, so it's tough. Buccaneers are in a tough spot. They just look flat.
Yeah, and I've made a video on this channel. There was a rumor that's been going around that one of the teams on Tom Brady's list, if he were to play next year, is the New England Patriots. That there's discussions that might be out there, not to rule that out, that him and Belichick are on speaking terms, that him and Robert Kraft have spoken, and that if he were to go somewhere next year. And his recent podcast, he said, listen, I fucking hate losing, but I'd rather play and lose than not play at all, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But coming off the worst season of his career, that's what this is. This is the worst season of Tom Brady's career. When you look at the expectations versus what they've performed, when you look at everything going on in the offseason, like, it's the worst year of his career. And for him to say something like that is crazy to me.
Well, yeah, he doesn't have Giselle breathing down his neck anymore. You know, he's always said, I'll retire when I suck. I don't even think that is in consideration anymore. I think the fact that I think that he will play even if he does suck, and just simply because he doesn't have Giselle breathing down his neck anymore. And that was part of the reason, part of the pressure why he would even consider retiring. And then, just that situation that it's just out the question now. So now it's just him and football, and he's not going anywhere. He is not going anywhere unless he obviously suffers a severe injury, which we all hope doesn't happen. Because when Tom Brady plays, it's good for football. So yeah, I don't think Tom Brady's going anywhere anytime soon. But also, we've said before, I don't think necessarily Tom Brady's career ends in Tampa Bay. I think he can play for another team for sure, whether it's New England or the Raiders with Josh McDaniels, or maybe the 49ers, his childhood favorite team. Who fucking knows?
Yeah. I can't be shocked. I can't be shocked if he plays next year. But it's an insane thing to think about. But let's go on to college football real quick. We've only got a couple minutes left. There wasn't a lot of college football last week because it was championship weekend. And unfortunately for you, Beardo, USC Trojans did come up a little bit short. And by that, I mean, they got wrecked by Utah. And they missed out on the college football playoff. But we do know who is going to be in. We found out live while we were watching on the Sunday Sports Wars stream. Georgia, Michigan, TCU does not drop despite losing in their conference champion. in the conference championship, but Ohio State does go up and get that 4th spot overall. We talked a little bit about it on Sunday. How do you feel overall about this? Do you think the committee gets it right here?
I think the committee got what they wanted, but I think that you can swap 3 and 4. I think that Ohio State should have leapfrogged TCU, especially after TCU had lost to Kansas State. But having that Big Ten rivalry matchup in the first round of the playoff, maybe the committee's hoping that if Ohio State does upset Georgia, that because I think it's kind of a given that most people think that Michigan is going to take it to TCU. So maybe the committee is hoping maybe we'll get that Michigan-Ohio State Big Ten rivalry matchup in the national championship. But I think obviously Georgia as well is also favored to take it to Ohio State.
Yeah, I think that the right teams are in. You're right. It should be swept. I know why they did it. I mean, they did it because they don't want the Michigan-Ohio State rematch, right? These teams just played. Ohio State lost. That's why they're avoiding that. They tend to do that in these college football matchups. They try to separate the conference teams that have already had games, that have already played this year. They try to stop that from happening. And it is kind of weird that TCU loses and doesn't drop a slot.
Yes.
In reality, I think that they know that this belongs there and this belongs here. Obviously, there was a lot of people that thought Alabama should have been in. And I agree, Alabama's a better team than TCU.
Yep.
Undoubtedly, Alabama's a better team than TCU. But there are just different standards. And when you lose 2 games like that, even the way that they lost the games, and that is one thing. Hey, listen, Alabama, when you look at Alabama, they have done this all the time. When you look at their schedule, they fill out their schedule with really dog shit teams when they're not playing the SEC. With the exception of they usually have, like 1 or 2 notable out-of-conference ones. But when you look at these games, Utah State, University of Louisiana Monroe, what the fuck is this? I don't even know. Something State University, Austin P, right? They fill out their non-conference schedule with these because typically we know that this SEC fucking conference schedule is a gauntlet. But when you go back and look at some of their quality wins, they're just not as high as they would have been in recent years. That being said, 100%, I think that TCU probably deserves to be there ahead of Alabama, even though Alabama is a better team. And these are tough discussions to have, but that's why we're always arguing about these things.
Alabama is a better team from 2 to 4. I think Alabama's better than Michigan on paper. But it just depends, any given Sunday, who knows. But I think, it's the right thing to do to keep Alabama out. But, Alabama still beats TCU 9 times out of 10. Alabama probably beats Ohio State 9 times out of 10. But, it is what it is. Good for TCU. Hopefully they can do something with this opportunity. But it kind of also doesn't really matter because if they don't do something with this opportunity, next year it's a 12-team college football playoff. So TCU could still get in next year.
Yeah.
Well, regarding how many seniors declare for the NFL draft, how many players that they lose.
Yeah. Is that because they don't want to play nobody or other teams don't want to play them? It's 100% because they don't need to go and have those challenges in their schedule. That's why it's a lot of teams, a lot of challenging teams would 100% be willing to put fucking Bama on their schedule. 1,000%. Now they did go out and do that with Texas, right? Texas is one of those ones they did. And they were, they were fucking lucky to come out of that one with a win for sure.
Yep.
Lucky to come out with that one with a win. Alabama will usually have one decent non-conference, and then they fill out the rest with very shitty ones. And I think that hurt them in the end because when you went to look down and say, what quality wins do they have? It wasn't as good as the ones they have normally,
right?
Just with those SEC victories. And I think that's just a big struggle that they had convincing to get them in there with those 2 losses. When we look forward, though, Michigan, TCU, I think Michigan will handle them, but I think it'll be an interesting game. I'm looking forward to Georgia, Ohio State. Ohio State did not play very well against Michigan. They've been a little bit inconsistent all year. They have talent. They don't have Georgia level talent. So I think that they could hang with them. And I actually think that the Ohio State-Georgia game has the possibility to be better than the Georgia-Michigan game, just based on matchups, potentially. But I still think Georgia's just going to fucking, absolutely burn through these guys.
I think we're looking down the road at a Georgia-Michigan national championship game. Just as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. I hope it's at least exciting along the way. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yep.
But now we have all of bowl season to look forward to. All the 500 teams that they all go out there and they have fun at some random fucking sponsored bowl. And we're not going to get to see these teams play until I think it's New Year's Eve. Is that when these teams are playing?
Most of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Is it New Year's Eve or it might be? I know that the Rose Bowl is always or New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, because the Rose Bowl is always New Year's Day, or at least it used to be in previous years. Yeah,
let me check. I can find out these days. So, December 29th, and here we go. Saturday, December 31st, you got Alabama at Kansas State in the the Sugar Bowl. And then 4 p.m. TCU Michigan, 8 p.m. Ohio State Georgia. And that is on Saturday, December 31st.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good day for college football. Real good day.
And funny enough, the Rose Bowl isn't until the day after New Year's. Which is
that's weird. It's always New Year's Day.
It's probably because it's on a Sunday.
On a Sunday. Yeah, so they don't want to compete with
They
the
don't
NFL.
want to do it on a Sunday.
Yeah.
But so that'll be interesting. College football season, it's finally over. Now we're into bowl season, and obviously the big one's coming in about a month or so. But thank you guys for joining us tonight. We're just a couple minutes away from kickoff for Monday Night Football. Beardo, what do you have going on?
Let's see. I might stream on my Twitch later tonight. There's a brand new season of Fortnite, so who knows? I'll be on my Twitch tonight playing something, probably Fortnite. But yeah, I'm gonna watch the game. Hopefully the Bucs win. I'll be rooting for the Bucs, and I'll be live on Twitch later tonight. Fear the Beardo on everything. Fear the Beardo on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube.
Nice. And we're gonna be here with our standard coverage for all the crazy going on in sports for sure. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us, and we are gonna talk to you next time. Peace.